Here, here, he pilates. Here, here, here.
Good. It's recording now, so just
start
when
out.
you guys are ready.
Okay.
And thank you again, Mr. Hill.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Hill, why did you start studying Jiu Jitsu?
Well, that's an interesting story. I also work at King Supers, and there was a guy that I worked with, Robert Wingo, and we were maintenance guys together, so we was mopping floors, and he told me he knows a guy that can beat up anybody I've ever known. So I'm like, oh, here we go, you know, another story, right? So this guy that he was talking about happened to be Shane Pitts, and Shane showed up at my store at an ATM, right? So he's like, hey, this is the guy I was telling you about. So I go over to him, and you know, and it's funny when you think of a fighter, you assume that he's some big guy, he's muscled up, tattoos or something, and Shane was very normal, very nice, and he had just started a jiu-jitsu academy in Denver, in Aurora actually, and it was at the Gymnastics Institute. So he asked me if I had anything, you know, have I done anything, and if I was interested in coming down to learn. And I'm like, well, you know, I'll see what I'm doing, but maybe I'll see, you know. I thought it was ninjutsu. I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. Anyway, I go down there on a Sunday morning, and he tells me to take my shoes off, and then he said, well, do what you would normally do if we were street fighting. So I thought maybe it would be just, so do I punch you? And he's like, well, we do that, but let's, you know, would you give me a headlock, or what would you do? So, you know, I grabbed him and I strained and I squeezed as hard as I could, and he tapped me maybe, you know, 30 times. And, you know, maybe I'm just hard-headed and I didn't get it after 10 times. I went like 30 times. And after that, I knew this is for me, because how easy he was getting me. And I'm tired and he's not, you know. So right there, that changed me, you know. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. And so that was your introduction to jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Shane Pitts.
Shane Pitts, okay. And now what kind of impact has jiu-jitsu had on your life?
Man.
At least at that age in comparison to now.
Man, I mean, the impact of jiu-jitsu on my life. I mean, listen, even when I plan a family vacation, it has to revolve around jiu-jitsu. So yes, I'm going to spend time with my family, but I need to have a gym nearby, no matter where we go, Texas, California, anywhere. So his impact on me is very strong as far as my personality. I'm pretty much a soft-spoken person anyway, but you just have a pride about yourself that you know when if it chooses to go down, that I'll do all right, you know.
And in the beginning, how much did you train?
Oh, it was like I had the jiu-jitsu flu, man. I couldn't get enough of it. I mean, even when I went to sleep, I would sometimes wake up squeezing a pillow or Monteleone and something, or messing with my wife, or I just couldn't get enough of it, you know.
And so was it the first time that, with Mr. Pitts, is that what made you fall in love with jiu-jitsu?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And
How does he stand out against other instructors in your mind, in your history?
How does he stand out? I mean, he was really a pioneer in Colorado. No one, I mean, at that time we had maybe 3 schools in Colorado. I mean, you had Shane's guys, myself, and you had Sheldon Marr from Grappler's Edge, and David Ruiz, wasn't really around at that time. I mean, Boulder was just starting to get its go. So we were really primarily the only guys who taught submission and jiu-jitsu and stuff. So Shane, his throwing ability and his ability to push you, you know. Our first gym was at the Gymnastics Institute. So we had, I don't know if you've ever been on a gymnastics mat. It's like carpet. So when you shrimping across carpet, it drags you. And it's maybe 50 feet. So we're shrimping back and forth on that thing, and then we climbed the ropes, and it was atrocious. So I didn't know how much that would help me until I went to the tournaments and I started winning and start choking guys and not being tired and being able to move. When they're breathing hard, I'm like normal. I'm sweating, but I'm just very even keel, you know. So that's why I think he'd stand out in my mind.
So you credit a lot of your attribute training and development on a personal level to him because he pushed you to that level.
Yes,
professional
yes,
level.
absolutely. And then I eventually moved on to teaching at Nate Marquardt School, high altitude, and I taught there for 3 years, and I was a head jiu-jitsu instructor there. And me and Nate trained together, Dwayne Bang Ludwig, Christian Allen, all the tough guys in Colorado, man. All the guys who are doing well in MMA, I've either rolled with or sparred with, got beat up by, you know, even Cowboy Cerrone. I don't know if you guys know. Cowboy, trained with him, sparred with him. In fact, when he does his triangles, he had asked me years ago, how do he tighten up his triangle? And I showed him. And I don't know if that has anything to do with why he's triangling guys, but I like to think so.
Okay, and you shared some of your memories of your first training experiences. What about a memory of a competition that you've been in?
The Pan Ams, when I was a brown belt, it was my first Pan Ams actually. So it was 2008, I believe, and all the guys were so seasoned, and I mean their gis were worn in. I had like a brand new gi, you know, that I just bought like that day, you know what I mean? I had a little hard time making weight. I had to drop 4 pounds. And in the Pan Ams, you got to weigh in with your gi on right before you compete. So it's not like a day before, so you got to be ready, you know. So I weighed in, I made my weight, I went in. The first guy, he runs a school in, I believe, Fort Worth. And tough guy, I beat him, right? Then I went against another guy that was from Oregon. I beat him. But we're talking about advantages, you know. I mean, it's so tight in the Pan Ams. The guys are so good that you generally win on advantages or, you know, 2 points, or it's very tight. And then I got to the finals and I lost by a guy from Texas, and he just stalled it out. He got a point, he stalled it out, but that's the way the game goes, you know.
And what about, what's your funniest memory rolling on the mat?
Funniest memory? I have a lot of those. Funniest memory? I would say when Shane, when I saw Shane throw a guy that was a Hawaiian judo champion, I think, or he was from Hawaii. I don't know if he's a champ, but I know he was a serious guy, right? And he came in, he was very cocky, you know. Like, I don't have any problems with anybody. And Shane was like, really? Okay. Well, they got on the mat, and Shane played with it. I mean, it wasn't even like normal. Like, he played with it. The guy didn't even say bye or nothing. He just grabbed his kimono and just walked off, man. We just laughed, you know. Everybody see him walking off, you know. We just like.
So the ego is different than the reality.
Ego. And you see that a lot. You see that a lot in jiu-jitsu. You know?
Why do you think that is?
Why? Because, you know, I think, at least now with the MMA craze, you have a lot of guys who look at these guys with the tattoos and they talk trash. And so they think that's what it's about until they come in the door. And when they come in the door and they find the smallest guy, a 120-pound guy, able to choke you, armbar you, you know, do what he want to do to you. And I think if you're not ready for that, if you're not centered enough, you're gonna quit, right? You're gonna quit. If you are centered enough, you're gonna stay and learn and try to see why this 120-pound guy can beat me.